this last little session here. Right. So we takes two separate values, right? And we find the difference to get a better understanding and to get a better average of the gradient, right? So we take y2, we call this value up here y2, and we call this value down here y1, and we take this value as x2 and we take this value as x1, right? So let me just say that again. So when finding the gradient, we can't just take a random value because it's supposed to take this value. This value is off the line, it's not representing anything. So we had to take a range of values. So the range of values would stretch from here down to here. So we get a better understanding of the steepness and the shape of the graph. Everyone understand? Everyone up to par so far?
Sure, we can choose between any of the four.
All right. So when finding that point, I
Yes,
think right
sir.
here, right? You want to use between the first 2 points.
Excuse me, sir.
Go ahead.
All right, sir. So basically, what you say, between 1.60 and 2.40.
That's the range of values,
Yes, sir. The range of values.
right?
So that means like we can't nothing else out between that.
Not necessarily. What we're trying to do is find the steepness of the graph. We're trying to find the how steep the graph is. And in order to find that, we cannot just use one point. We have to use a range. We have to use a range. So from y1 to y2, um, I recommend you use the point in between the first 2 points, and the first 2 points and
Yeah.
2 points, right? So we use here between this and this, and we use here in between this and this, all right?
So they have to be equal in the middle.
Not necessarily. They don't have to be equal, right? But just ensure that they're between the two so that you get a range of values. All right.
Come again, sir.
Okay. So for the gradient, we want to we can't use one value. We can't just plug in one value to find the gradient. We want to find the gradient. We want to use a value for y and a value for x. But we can't just use one value. We have to use a range of values. So you have to use from y1 to y2, right? And we find the difference. We find the difference of that. We find the bulk of values in the y-axis and we find the bulk of values in the x-axis, right?
Question, sir.
And we find the ratio
They
of
did.
the two. All right, go ahead.
They didn't start from the last point.
Which point is that?
One that between 1.40 and 1.60.
Right.
Last.
So this is our y1, 1.60. We call it our y1, right? We match it up to the graph and we get our
Oh,
x1.
okay,
So
okay.
it's like we're taking 2 points, this point here and this point here, and we're finding the average of the 2 points. So the average of the points would stretch across. So we take this point and this point. So this would be our y1, x1. This would be our first point, and this would be our y1, y2, x2, which would be our second point. Understand now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All right.
sir. Yes, sir.
So just choose the point. Question? Right. I'll do that now. We'll do that now. Yeah. So, all right, Persons coming in. Okay. So when you're doing a gradient, just find the point between this, the first two, this point, and the last two. All right, let me get my eraser now and remove some of these things. Right.
See the 4, 5 clean. Shut open the door like
All right. So the person who was on the mic, I'm going to have to mute you. All right. Okay. So okay. So for the x1 and x2, so this is our second point. This x2 and y2, this is our second point, and then y1 and x1 is our first point. All right. So we want to find the value for this x1 and x2 to plug into this formula here. This is our formula. Whenever you do the gradient, this is a very easy formula to remember. Very easy. M equal y2 minus y1.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Go ahead.
So, sir, when I get the formula and work out, a calculator we must use.
Yeah, you can use a calculator or
Bruh.
the phone.
Okay, sir. Sir, I just want to verify. So, like all in the exam now.
You need a calculator.
Okay, sir. I just want to verify if you can use the calculator for now.
All right. Not a
Yes,
problem.
sir.
All right, we have somebody in the chat. Okay. All right, so y2 minus y1, and we have x2 minus x1. This is our formula. So we're comparing the x2 and the x1 values. We're not just using one value because that would not give us the range, that would not give us what we need. So we're using two values and we're comparing them, right? So we go ahead and we find these values. So for y2 is here, right? y2 is right here. And we
Yes,
do it. Remember that we're doing the estimate again.
yes, sir.
So in between 2.2.
That's like 2.39.
Right. Well, I think you saw that. Yeah, 2.3, 2.39, 2.35 thereabout. All right, that is good. Good estimate. 2.39, 2.37 thereabout. Right? It's not going to be perfect. When you're doing a graph, your graph paper will have some little smaller lines you can see and you can count better. Right? But this is just for showing purposes. So y1 now would be what? Y1 would be what?
1.6.
Yeah, 1.6. No, for x1.
1.600.
Yeah. So
Zero.
for x1 now, we have, all right, we're finding the middle. When you're doing these type of graph, you want to first identify the middle. What is in the middle here? We have in this 3 there,
3 strokes.
but we have 40. We have 4 when you're doing it. It is 42.5 in the middle. So in between 40 and 45 in the middle, you have 42.5. So therefore, this would be about 3. Your other
43.
Yeah, 43. So that would be our x1, 0.43. Now, if you realize we have 43 here, we have 43 here, and then we have 0.43. Somebody want to tell me why? No?
Repeat, sir.
What, sir?
All right, we had 43 here, and now we have 0.43 in our formula. Anybody know why?
Yeah, look at the
Yes,
graph.
sir. Me.
Go
It's a
ahead.
X1, sir.
No,
No.
this was in meters. If you realize, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, this was in this was in centimeters. Yes, this was centimeters first. centimeters, and then we convert it to meters. Whenever we're doing calculations, we want to use meters instead of centimeters. All right?
So
Yes,
we
sir.
Convert centimeters to meters.
oh,
And then next one is 55. Right? 55 here and 60. What is in the middle here? If we have 55 here and we have 60 here, what is in the middle? Around 57.
57.5.
57.5 thereabout.
a solid 50.
Right? This should be 57. But then we can go back through and check it again. Right?
Yes, sir.
57.5 thereabout. So it's more of an estimate. And then we find the difference of these two. And we
Sir,
find
why the zero there in front of them?
the zero because
We convert it to meter.
yeah, we convert it from
Centimeter to
centimeters
meter.
to meter. Right. Centimeters to meter.
Once you convert, have you have 0 in front of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right, and we get our final value to be approximately 6. Right? It's not
Yes, sir.
it's not exactly 6, but it's approximately 6.
Rolling.
Right? And
Yeah.
we
Yeah, break up, sir.
Okay, sir.
uh
Yeah, we are.
Sir?
Yeah, no, mute
the
your
first
mic.
one said 57, that is correct. Right? We are basically finished here, right? With 2 minutes to spare. Right, we'll do that another time. We can finish the calculation of acceleration due to gravity when we're preparing for our lab. But basically we're done here. So go back through, right? If you want, I can go through it one more time in calculating the gradient. You'll need it. No,
But physics, you need SB, the syllabus.
let me just say this. You in an activity, you will see I will give you this formula, right? I will give you this formula right here.
Yes, sir.
I will give you this formula. You won't need to know about these, right? This is just me showing you what is happening, but you're not required to know this. I give you this. And anything in this formula looks familiar?
A pi is 4 pi square over n.
Meter.
Just a
Over
part.
The M, right?
Yes, sir.
We just
Meter.
spoke about the M. What is the M?
Is meter.
No,
Oh. Gradient.
our gradient. So if we plug in our gradient right here, we should
Yes.
be able to calculate G. And remember we spoke about G yesterday? No, the day before yesterday? G is the
Gravity.
acceleration due to gravity, right? Gravity. And that is equal to what? 9 point?
8.
Even for yesterday, sir.
Day before, right? We spoke
Yeah,
about
day
that.
before.
So that is
So,
the
mhm.
that is the calculation for G.
That is the calculation for G. So
Alright.
they actually use a simple pendulum when calculating G. They use a simple pendulum to find. They use a simple pendulum to find the acceleration due to gravity on Earth. And they have other experiments that can be used. So in your activity, you will be given this formula, and after you calculate your gradient, right? After you calculate your gradient with your y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, right? You will go ahead and then just plug in your values for g equal pi squared, right, over m. Pi squared or pi, let's look at, no, 4 pi, 2 pi. All right, just do that back over again.
2 pi
That concludes our class. If you have any questions, please send it in the group. You're free to go ahead now and start your activity, right? You want to fill out your graph and you want to plot your graph using your graph paper, right? And then identify your gradient. You can watch over this video again, or you can contact me on WhatsApp, of course. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Sir, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Sir, if first part recorded to sir,
Yes, the
about the
first part is
oscillation
recorded.
also.
Yes, it is
Oh,
recorded.
come and understand the part there, sir.
When we meet again, we can go through it. All right. I have another class now.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, man. No problem. All right. All the best, everyone. Remember, if you have any questions, please let me know.
Yes,
Sir.
sir.
Alright, sir.
Let
Big
me
up
know on
yourself,
WhatsApp.
sir.
Alright, sir.
Have a nice day. And please send activity. Okay?
Repeat that, sir.
Start your activity.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And if you have any questions,
Yeah, Pavo.
Yes, sir.